Here.
Trustee Forster.
Here.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Here.
Trustee Schenk.
Here.
Trustee Takaoka.
Here.
Trustee Cook. President Byrne.
Here. Would everybody please stand for Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Okay. Is there a motion to appoint Trustee Cook President Pro Tem?
I'd like to nominate Trustee Cook to be President Pro Tem for the duration of the meeting.
Second it.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Trustee Marquardt.
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Aye.
Trustee Forster.
Aye.
Trustee Schenk.
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka.
Aye.
Trustee Cook.
Aye.
President Byrne.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, then the next item is citizens wishing to address the board. Are there any citizens wishing to address the board on something not on the agenda, or, because we'll give you time on the agenda later? Okay, hearing none, then under the President's report, we have several proclamations. The first is a proclamation for National Teacher Appreciation Week. And Trustee Oppenheim asked if he could read that one.
I asked if I could read this proclamation since Trustee Cook is a teacher, and I felt like someone else should be honoring him instead of him reading his own proclamation. So, Proclamation Teacher Appreciation Week, May 6th through May 14th, 2024. Whereas, through their dedicated efforts to ensure our children learn the knowledge and skills needed to be successful in higher education, careers, and life, teachers are vital in helping build the future. And whereas our country's future depends on providing quality education to all students, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas teachers play a crucial role in shaping our children into the people they will become, supporting them through their youth, and teaching lessons that will have an impact on students they will carry through life. And whereas our community recognizes and supports teachers in educating the children of this community. And now, therefore, I, President Roger L. Byrne, do hereby proclaim May 6th through May 14th, 2024 as Teacher Appreciation Week. And on behalf of our Village of Vernon Hills Board of Trustees, extend appreciation to all of our teachers dated this 7th day of May, 2024. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I want to mention that my daughters had you, and you were certainly one of their favorite middle school teachers.
Well, thank you. Well, and one of the great things about teaching is like just what happened tonight with Tony coming in here and seeing that students that you knew when they were 12, 13, 14 years old now have become successful adults that's the most rewarding part of the job. And I must admit, you were there today. We were at the Ask the Mayor's luncheon earlier, and one of the things that all of the mayors mentioned was how great the school system is around here in all four of the communities in the chamber, and that was a recurring theme all day.
A lot to be proud of.
Yeah. Okay, second proclamation is National Police Week. National Police Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day in Vernon Hills. The Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which it falls as Police Week. The members of law enforcement agencies serving the Village of Vernon Hills play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of Vernon Hills and its residents. It is important for all citizens to know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of law enforcement professionals, and for members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, guarding against violence and disorder, and protecting the innocent from deception and the weak from oppression. The men and women of the Vernon Hills Police Department provide a ceaseless and vital public service. Now therefore, Roger L. Byrne, the President of the Village of Vernon Hills, calls upon all residents of Vernon Hills and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 12th through the 18th as Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating police officers past, present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of the people. We therefore call upon all residents of Vernon Hills to observe Wednesday, May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those peace officers who through their courageous deeds have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community. Furthermore, let us recognize and honor the survivors of the fallen. This day, May 7th, 2024. And that cannot be echoed enough. As I've said over and over again, police and fire, the simplest line about it is when there's trouble, we all run away, and they run toward it. Talking about education, we do drills on how to get out of the building in case it's on fire, and the fire department's running in. So our hats off to Chief, to all of your people. Anything you wanted to add to this?
No, just to thank you, and really, I know the men and women of the police department would agree with my statement that, we feel this is a nice honor, but we feel so fortunate to work in a community and work for village leaders that make us feel valued and supported every day of the year. So it's nice to pause and take a week and call it Police Week, but we know not every police officer is so fortunate to have so much support, and we feel that throughout the community, it's our privilege to serve this community, and just thank you for those words. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you and all your people for their service. The third proclamation is National Public Works Week in the Village of Vernon Hills. Advancing quality of life for all. Public works professionals contribute to and enhance the quality of life in all the communities they proudly serve. Public works services provided in our communities are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. The support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewers, streets, highways, public buildings, solid waste collection, and snow removal. The quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent on the efforts and skills of public works officials. The efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Therefore, Roger Byrne, President of the Village of Vernon Hills, hereby proclaims the week of May 19th through the 25th as National Public Works Week in Vernon Hills, and calls upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the problems involved in providing our public works and providing all our public works, and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, and comfort and quality of life. Dated this 7th day of May, 2024. And again, the same thing, that's one of the things that goes on that a lot of people don't recognize, and it's one of those, and I've talked several times with people at a higher level. They always talk about at our level, if the garbage gets picked up and the streets get plowed and traffic can get around, life's good. And that's public works in a nutshell. It has everything to do with that. So we have a great public works department here, and congratulations to you and your staff. Would you like to say anything?
I'll just echo the same thing that the chief said. I think the support of the board and village president to cultivate a really strong team here in Vernon Hills has just been great to see. I came in a little over a year ago, and the staff that has been put together here is just a really strong public works staff. So thank you for all the support.
No, thank you for everything you do. One other thing before we move on, I just wanted to mention, I already mentioned about the Ask the Mayor's Luncheon, and I wanted to, we made a presentation there today, and special thanks to Assistant Manager Petrillo and especially to Lynn Brandel for the amazing PowerPoint and information display that we were able to present there today. It was extremely well done. I mean, a lot of you were there, and I can't thank her enough, and same to you. So. Okay, nobody else has a speaking part tonight of any kind? Then next is omnibus vote agenda. It's, let me get this, items A through J and L. K has been pulled. So it's items A through J and L. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second? Is there one?
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments, questions, concerns on any item?
Could,
Here, yeah,
no, I'm okay, I'm okay.
okay. Then a roll call, please.
Trustee Forster? Aye. Trustee Schenk?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
President Byrne?
Aye.
Chairman Pro Tem Cook?
Aye. Motion carries. Item K, Director Jennings.
Thank you. Item K was revised following the distribution of the packet, so I had requested that it be removed to take a separate vote on it. The reason for the revision to that ordinance is the one of the two items on the Liquor and Licensing Commission agenda was not reflected in the ordinance. And there was another change to our license quantities. We had a license removed as well. So the revised version of the ordinance was placed on the dais. Just for clarity, the end result would be 34 Class A licenses and 10 Class D licenses. So that reflects an increase of 2 A's from the 2 on the Liquor and License Commission tonight, a reduction in the A, so a net change of 1, and then a net change of 1 also on the D licenses. So happy to answer any questions you might have on this one, but we are requesting a separate vote for the revised version of 2024-69.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about this item? Then is there a motion to approve item K, ordinance 2024-069R?
Motion to approve item ordinance 2024-069. Did I miss something there?
Second.
Certainly, yeah. Okay. Motion, was there a second? Motion and a second. Okay, then roll call, please.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Forster? Aye. Trustee Schenk?
Aye.
President Byrne?
Aye.
Chairman Pro Tem Cook?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, no unfinished business, correct? Then under new business, approval and passage of ordinance 2024-066, and ordinance approving amendments to the rules and regulations of the Board of Fire and Police Commissioner of the Village of Vernon Hills. Chief Crease?
Thank you. I submitted in your packet a brief memo outlining the request for this ordinance. Basically, staff has worked with the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners, and the chairperson, Tom Quill, hoped to be here tonight. He's unfortunately been delayed due to a family matter. But we worked pretty closely and in detail with Village Attorney Farello, reviewing the current rules and essentially seeking to make some adjustments. The rules largely are legacy procedures that were very appropriate when the village would receive hundreds, sometimes 500 applicants to be a police officer. And it wasn't all that long ago. I think 5 years ago we had 160 applicants. But like so many industries, our hiring experience has changed. And the legacy rules required a fair amount of extensive procedures to go through those applicants to post a list. And the overriding theme of and purpose of the BFPC is to make sure that hiring of police officers in the village is done without any favoritism, nepotism, patronage. It's not done for any kind of favors, but rather the most qualified people are selected. So the village appoints a commission of 3 residents that know the community well and grant them the authority to oversee that process. Fortunately, they work very closely with staff, and so they take into consideration our ideas and needs and concerns, and it's been a very effective relationship. What hasn't been always effective are the procedures, and over recent years, we've struggled to put together a list with any more than 10 applicants on this eligibility list, and that usually would fill the immediate vacancy needs of 1 or 2 officers. And then when 6 months go by and we are ready to hire another police officer, the other 7 or 8 people on the list, they've all been hired by another jurisdiction, because if they place on our list, they're probably very qualified to place on others' lists. So we have to go back and start over again. So rather than continuing that process, the legal review of this looked at and determined that because of our home rule status, we could deviate completely from the legacy rules that are found in Article 65 of the Illinois Code, and it could even abolish the BFPC, and that's no one's recommendation. But thinking outside the box, looking at our experience with hiring lateral police officers, the commission came up with a set of procedures, working with staff, and essentially codified those in these rules that are in front of you now. It's still going to involve the commission overseeing the process. The commission will still be conducting interviews of anyone before they're hired, but try to be very nimble. And essentially, the core issue is, rather than a rank-ordered list, people that are past the physical agility test and past the written test, the test becomes a pass-fail rather than a graded that puts them in a rank order. They then proceed to a staff pre-screening process and a ride-along to learn a little bit about how our department runs. Then the board reviews that, screens that packet, and determines who's going to get an interview with the board. If the board interviews them and passes them, that candidate now goes into what's called a pool of qualified eligibles. What's good about that is they're in a pool of eligibles, and the board, the commission can select the most qualified person available for the next vacancy that's in the pool. So the idea here is we can have almost a continuous hiring process, rather than telling someone, oh, you look like a really good candidate for the village, check back on our website in 6 months when we test again. And that's kind of what we've been having to tell them. So we see this being a much more practical, nimble solution. Frankly, it's the way most organizations hire people, rather than perhaps the legacy thing that made a lot of sense when we were having hundreds of applicants and needed an efficient way of sorting through that. So that's really the overview here. All of this has been vetted with Attorney Ferrello and his team. The commission has met, approved this, and it's their request that the board take action to approve these changes. We would then make public notice of that, and we could be advertising under these new rules in as soon as 10 days. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, or perhaps our attorney could maybe fix anything that I maybe misspoke of.
Thanks, Chief.
Chief? Hey, Chief,
Yes, sir.
the reason we could do this is because we're a home rule community.
That is correct. The only way we can do this is because of our home rule status.
Okay. Well, don't, Village Attorney,
That's correct. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief. Nothing to correct, just to reiterate, it's because of the village's home rule status that they can make these changes. The statute to which the chief referred to does not preempt home rule authority. Some communities, as the chief indicated, don't have a BFPC. Some have a highly modified version of the BFPC's responsibilities, such as what is being proposed here. But the hiring needs and the difficulty in getting candidates does tend to hamper BFPC's procedures. We've seen it at many communities. So we've reviewed all these procedures, and we feel that they would be helpful and certainly legal under the statute.
Okay, any questions from the board? Trustee Shank?
Well, as a comment, I mean, it just seems like just the evolution of hiring anywhere, you have to react, and the longer you wait, you lose probably talent that way. So I think it's a great. I was just reading over it last night and today, and I think it's a, glad we're home rules that allows us to do this. So good job. This will be effective
May
immediately.
17th,
May 17th. So good.
if there's a positive vote tonight.
Oh, sure.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, then, is there a motion to approve ordinance 2024-066?
Motion to approve ordinance 2024-066.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. A roll call, please.
Trustee Oppenheim,
Aye.
Trustee Schenk,
Aye.
Trustee Forster. Aye. Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka,
Aye.
President Byrne,
aye.
Chairman Pro Tem Cook.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item is the approval and passage of ordinance 2024-071, an ordinance authorizing approval of the 2024 social service grants.
I'll take that. Thank you, Trustee Cook. As you know, this past January, the village began the application process for our 2024 Social Service Grant Program. The application period ended this March, and in total, we received 14 applications for about $71,500 in requested grant funding. The applications were reviewed by committee with staff and trustees Cook and Forster, and those recommendations from that committee were discussed at our last committee of the whole meeting on April 16th, and the committee came forward with a recommendation to approve grants in the amount of $63,500 across 14 different agencies. The ordinance in front of you this evening, ordinance 2024-071, is approving those requested amounts, recommended amounts from the April 16th meeting. So if there's any questions, we can answer those. Otherwise, this.
Yeah, I had
ordinance-
some questions. Excuse me.
Just kidding.
He said, does anyone have any questions? So, first I want to propose for next year, instead of having arbitrary numbers, we establish a budget annually, say 70 grand, 60 grand, whatever, and go from there and accept, applications. I get that process. Also would like to take a closer look as far as percentage of dollars that actually goes to the people they help, because I know, with all types of, entities, there's a percentage that has to go to overhead, okay? Because I know there's a couple on here where I know 100% goes to the cause. So I'd like to look at that, propose establishing a budget, take applications, absolutely. I do have one question. What is Vernon Hills Park District? Because I actually was supposed to be at this meeting, but I had to go out of town last minute. What's Vernon Hills Park District exactly? Are we giving them $2,500?
I believe that's a scholarship program that they have.
Oh, it's a scholarship program?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do on the applications, is there a question on like how they fund their cause, percentage for overhead? I mean, I know when you're 501c3, all those are public record to look at to decipher what
Yeah,
their
they're-
funding is.
There's a section
Well,
of the
anyway.
application that requests financial information, layout of the organization's budget, revenues, expenses for the past few years.
And do they put a dollar amount in there, or is that where, or did you guys?
They request a dollar amount.
They do request.
They
a
do,
dollar
yes.
amount. Okay. And do we have a budget this year, a cap?
We do. The board in March discussed the budget. This is under the president and
So
village board
I know
section.
that's, yeah, we had
Yeah.
this, right.
$67,000 is
Is
the
that what
total
we had?
budget.
Okay.
And based on the requests that came in, we came in at this figure, the 63.5.
Yeah, I realize that some were increased. I should have looked at it closer. I would have had more input on it, but wait till next year.
Well, and some of those that were increased were ones that were more directly, correct me if I'm wrong, more directly affecting
They
our
demonstrated.
community as opposed to, several of these are things that are more countywide.
And actually, some of the ones that, there were two we increased, so some, not a lot, so, but they demonstrated with a cost per resident of Vernon Hills, and that their numbers had increased, therefore their demand increased, so it was proportional how we increased it. They followed up with statistics.
Okay, any other comments or questions on this one? Mayor, anything you want to add?
No, I just think that, you guys did a good job in, actually going through all the applications and, some of them were in a great amount of detail. So, yeah, I think these are all worthy causes and we've contributed to them for years. And this is obviously, a low percentage of most of these charitable organizations' overall budgets. So I'm glad we can help out within reason.
Yeah, and I like, if we don't have a specific question about it, I would like adding trustee Takaoga's question about, what kind of a percentage goes to overhead and that if we can, because that has always been my personal criteria with,
Some of these are national orgs, okay, and
Right.
believe me, it's just, yeah, I would like to see some more information because they've got plenty of people that subsidize and contribute. That's all I'm saying. Because anytime I see a national organization, then I know United Way had a whole big thing, right?
Right.
Like, it was, and some of these are big orgs that, quite honestly, I could see a sort of a real.
okay, all right. Any other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve ordinance 2024-071 on the 2024 social service grants?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion, a second. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Schenk?
Aye.
Trustee Forster?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Byrne?
Aye.
Chairman Pro Tem Cook?
Aye. Motion carries. Anybody have anything under communications? Anything anybody wants to address? Trustee Shank?
Well, yeah, so I just want to welcome two of some of our Vernon Hills finest senior high schoolers over at in government class in the back row over there, taking notes. So good to see you guys are getting involved in public service, maybe. So best of luck to the both of you, as I am fortunately related to one of them. I'll let you guys pick which one.
Is it the one with the hair?
It is. It is. It is. So,
He looks like he's straight out of the 1960s.
you're more than welcome to come and talk. I think I heard no. I think I heard a no comment, Mayor. I think I heard a no comment.
Okay.
Any other communications anybody wishes to share? Okay, then in that case, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the board meeting and go to committee of the whole.
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we're adjourned and we'll be starting committee.
I'd like to call committee the whole meeting to order. And is there a motion to appoint trustee Cook, president pro tem for this meeting?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Trustee Schenk?
Aye.
Trustee Forster?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
President Byrne?
Aye, motion carries.
Okay, first item is the approval of Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of April 16th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Schenk?
Aye.
Trustee Forster?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Abstain.
President Byrne?
Aye.
Chairman Pro Tem Cook?
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is First Watch, 1000 North Milwaukee Avenue, concept review. Director Jennings?
Thank you. First Watch is the third and final piece of the Milwaukee Avenue outlots to the east of the Hawthorne Road and Domain. To the north would be Perry's, which is now open, and to the south is Yard House, which is in permit review at this moment. As you'll recall from the discussion of the subdivision that created these lots, the mall ownership had anticipated that a smaller restaurant, possibly with complementary hours, morning hours, would be a good fit. And as they had guessed, the proposal at this time is a breakfast restaurant, First Watch, which does close in the early afternoon typically. I'll have them come up in just a moment, but just a quick overview. It's a roughly 4,000 square foot building with an additional outdoor dining area to the south. The lot, although it is contiguous with the lots to the north and south, this portion of the parking lot has 47 stalls in it. The design, as you can see, has connectivity with the drive aisles, so they did anticipate that the adjacent dinner restaurants might be able to take advantage of the parking if this did end up being a breakfast and lunch restaurant. So with that, I do have two minor notes in the staff report before I bring them up. The concept renderings that were provided do not label the materials, so I did ask them to be prepared to explain what materials proposed in the event that the committee would like to provide some feedback on that. And then, as you can see on the site plan, it's preliminary at this point, but during technical review, should this move forward, we would like to work with them to improve the pedestrian connectivity to the west. We have been working with the mall to just generally improve pedestrian connectivity to the residential area, to the residential building, which is occupied. So with that, I'd like to have the project team come forward, please.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Committee of the Whole, thank you for your time and attention this evening. My name is Sam Whitebread. I'm the Vice President of Real Estate or Development for Centennial Real Estate. We're here tonight to, as Director Jennings said, present to you the new First Watch breakfast and brunch concept, which will occupy our middle out parcel on the Milwaukee Avenue trio of restaurant lineup. First Watch is an award-winning daytime dining operation. They operate 530 restaurants in 29 states. We're happy to add them to the lineup here as a strong, solid, publicly traded company, and are happy to walk through the content on the screen and answer any questions you have. With me is Ryan Martin, our civil land engineer from Kimley Horn, and I'm sure between he and I, we can walk through and answer any questions that might come up.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. Director Jennings nailed everything on the head as usual, so we appreciate our relationship that we have with staff, willing to work through these items on the conceptual level. The pedestrian connectivity note is excellent, so we'll make sure to incorporate that as we start to really flesh out these plans here. As you can see, we can speak a little bit more on architecture if there are any specific questions. Kind of high level, there's a lot of storefront. What you see here is the main entrance, which faces west towards the domain as noted in the slide here. The right side there is the southern face with a 500 square foot covered patio. A lot of brick accents, some of that siding that's consistent with the First Watch brand. Closest comparison is Killdeer and across the street from Deer Park. They have a similar footprint, similar style if you're curious to see it in person. So we're happy to speak more on anything in particular, but appreciate the opportunity to present this to you now.
So it says that you're about 4,000 square feet. Is that average, above, below the size of your locations?
The location with the normal First Watch locations?
Yes.
That's consistent with
That is
their
consistent?
standard.
Okay.
Correct.
Hours of operation, or I was looking for it in the,
7 to 2:30 daily is what they average. That's referencing the Killdeer location.
yeah, that's one of the things that helps. When you first talked about what we were going to put in between the other two places, it helps in terms of the parking significantly, the different hours of operation, yeah.
And this might be a question for Andrew, like I know this is just consent tonight, but I know this was a conversation, I believe, with the Yard House, with the sewer line underneath, running diagonally. No issues there based on the footprint of the restaurant?
So they have actually cited the restaurant where you see here to allow for the sewer to run. I don't know if the context, I don't know if I have a good way to illustrate this, but it runs diagonally to the west of the building.
Right, I see it hits that, it doesn't hit the corner, but it's right there, okay.
Yeah, so this dimension right here is, if you could kind of imagine it is kind of grayed out, but it's a comfortable distance from that corner there.
Yeah.
So we actually, in previous iterations, we were a little bit closer. We've pushed as far away from that as possible.
That's why I was asking, is it the
Yes.
traditional size of this restaurant, is it a traditional size, or did you have to scale it
No,
down because of that?
It
You
actually
know,
worked out pretty well.
Okay,
So we're within the setback, or not within the setback. We're outside of, we're west of the setback from Milwaukee Avenue.
Yeah.
So we are threading the needle a little bit. So the building actually fits perfectly in that
Yeah,
space.
and if I may, I think it's an ideal, obviously, type of business, given the hours
Exactly.
and
Right.
the size, given, I remember that was an issue with the storm drain before for Yard House. So my one question, I think this is gonna be to the landowner, as the parking lots get used more and the responsibility of taking care of the parking lots are going to fall on who?
Snow removal, lot sweeping, it falls under landlord responsibility.
Landowner?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and it's all the same, right? So it's all, like, there'll be, and what about maintenance and repair and replacement? You know, because as a, you know, if one of these business owners may say, hey, my parking, I'm only responsible for these, I'm not sure how many spaces here, what did you have, 40 spaces, but let's be honest, 60 are being used during those breakfast hours. How do you have ways to mitigate that, I'm sure, right?
Within the parcel lines, we know the parking fields, there's perimeter landscaping that the landlord will be responsible for maintaining, the perimeter lighting the landlord would be responsible for. But then within the building footprint and their tighter landscape buffer, the tenant themselves would be held to the maintenance.
I just want to make sure, because we've seen parking lots go into disrepair, and now the question is, who's using it more? You know, is Yard House using it more? Is First Watch using it more? Is Perry's using it more? Because the whole point here of having a place that closes at 2:30, well, operation-wise, you know, now that frees up parking for the other places. Like, so it becomes more of a community parking lot
Right.
for all the businesses, and I just want to make sure that it's very clear in their leases that who's responsible for what and when. Because if two people don't replace a parking lot and one does,
Right.
we don't
It-
want
it's
anything
a
to go in
highly
disrepair.
negotiated point
And it's
within
a
the
hi-
lease.
Yes, and it's a very visible location for our town, and we want to make sure that it always looks nice.
Absolutely, and agree.
Well, will there be a cross easement agreement between Perry's and the Yard House? and First Watch?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, within the lease agreement themselves, there are parking rights that allow them cross parking onto each parcel.
Okay,
Yes.
well, that's good.
Yeah, and that again goes back to how the hours complement each other, which is very, very good, so.
That was part of our concerted leasing effort to fit that puzzle piece into the row there.
Okay. Other comments, questions from any board members?
What is the garbage corral going to be made out of or look like?
It's a brick structure.
Oh, there it is. Got
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
It'll match that maintenance in the lower portion of the brick, so it should blend in nicely.
So it looks like you made the building a little bit smaller and you moved it a little bit east to avoid the sewer line there?
Yeah, east and south.
Yeah.
And the original, I think our test fit was 4,200 square feet, and then
Now
First
it's
Watch
4,000.
said actually ours is 4,000, so we'll just go with that.
Okay.
Can I ask the board something? It's just kind of popped in my head. So as the view from, how many stories is the residential? 5 stories? 5, 6 stories or so? 4. So above the garbage corrals, right? And looking down, you got Perry's, and I don't know if they have covers on them or. So what I'm saying is the view down potentially, like, do we care about that? Looking down as a resident?
Will they have lids though too on the, on those, I don't know, on the,
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean,
could you
So-
put a canopy over it?
is it something
Normally
that,
the garbage cans are pulled out and,
Well, there's a fence
Put on
going
the
around it.
trucks.
from above?
Right, right.
But
From
he's
above,
talking
the
about,
resident,
I
the
get
view
that.
from.
So
yeah.
how much higher is the fence than the top of the dumpster?
I'm sure it's,
Well, it's definitely gonna, from the street level, you won't see the dumpsters. It's high enough.
Right.
So
But
so
2
you're looking for
stories
a
up, yeah.
Canopy
But it's a
over
distance
the,
too, so.
I don't know.
Just a thought, Obviously, we expect you to keep, obviously, we expect the business owners to keep things very tidy in the garbage corrals, so.
Never thought of it.
well, you're talking about especially from,
So I've seen, in fact, I know we have many where we're required to put depending on the town's ordinance, that's the whole thing, is to you construct your garbage corral, but you also basically have,
Canopy over it.
it's kind of like a canopy, but it's a permanent shelter in a way, but it's just a cover. It's open air, but it's to keep viewing from local residential
view.
looking down
The view.
Glenview.
I don't know, it's our show.
well, the domain is what?
Just a
4
thought. I
stories,
was just
so-
wondering if that is something that was ever considered. Obviously, we're already day late on this one, but
Is this something we could revisit if it creates a problem? I mean,
When we get into, assuming this goes into technical review, it wouldn't be that difficult for us to work with them on a sightline diagram. It's kind of like the reverse version of what we do for rooftop units.
yeah.
So we can work with them on that just to see how the wall will obscure the view of what's behind it.
it would have to be fair and equal across the board, though. So that's the whole thing. Yeah, we don't want to. We're not going to just stick one person with it. It wouldn't work like that.
Oh, Perry's already there. Why don't we go in the building, take a look? Okay.
Yeah, that would be easy to find out. Okay,
Other than that,
other comments, questions from the board? Action tonight, sir?
Just requesting consensus to move forward with technical review. And if I don't know if the attorney wants to do the whole spiel, but just consensus to move forward.
Yeah.
So the board's, or the committee of the whole's consensus this evening, if it's in favor, is just one of many steps, as you're aware, to final consideration and approval by the village board. So there may be additional items that will come out of technical review that could modify the project. You'd next go to the zoning board for any zoning relief that would be required, and then back to the village board based on a favorable recommendation from the zoning board, if you receive that, for final review and approval.
Okay, so let me check with the board. Is everybody,
Yeah.
everybody's agreeing? Everybody, so Mayor, you're agreeing with going forward, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So did you comment on what the building materials are? I know that was in one of the staff's recommendations that we discussed that.
Yeah, there's a mixture of like a lap siding, consistent kind of with what you see at most First Watch locations. I know Director Jennings showed the Killdeer location. There's brick along those posts, along the bottom kind of 3 feet. In certain spots, there's some EFIS shown. It's a mixture of different materials.
And no concerns about the E EFIS?
P&Z, that's their role, but
Yeah.
yeah, EFIS is not my favorite to look at, but I don't think we have an ordinance against EFIS, though.
Yeah, I don't think, this has come up a few times before, yeah. Has the tendency not to wear as well, I guess.
No, it doesn't. I mean, we see it too, and some, if it's taken care of and managed, it's fine. But when it goes, it's very costly to repair because you got to do big giant sections, and it's a lower cost way to get a good look.
Yeah.
When it looks good, it looks good. But it's very expensive to build these days. So pro business is the way from my viewpoint.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. So then, by all
Good.
means, move ahead with it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Raising Cane's, 151 Town Line Road, concept review. Director Jennings again.
Thank you. Raising Cane's is requesting a concept review for a proposed drive-through restaurant at 151 Town Line Road. I have a couple of comments from the staff member, but what I'd like to do for this one is just go ahead and have the project team come up, introduce themselves, go through the concept, and if the staff comments aren't covered during the course of their presentation or in the questions, I'd like to just revisit a few of them at the end, if that's okay with the committee. So with that, I'd like to invite the project team to come forward. And you do have the ability to flip through your slides by pressing down or by using the mouse.
Hey, Trustee Cook?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can I, this is an addendum to our concern that was raised by Trustee Shank on use of EFIS. And I'll just help, our building director, Andrew. We have an ordinance in place that calls for masonry materials on all commercial buildings. Are you aware of that,
Do we?
Andrew?
There's a special architectural provision section. So while the Planning and Zoning Commission may chime in on it, ultimately is the board that decides whether or not to grant an exception to that. So there's a minimum coverage of masonry on each elevation. So the use of EFIS, while it's not necessarily prohibited, the amount of EFIS coverage is something that the board can certainly provide that direction on. So I'd be happy to work with them to try to reduce that to more of an accent than a primary material.
So do you know what the percentage?
Yeah, I think that would make sense. I just wanted to, in case Raising Cane is using ethos.
Sure. And I'll make sure that the First Watch team does have that comment.
So do you know what percentage?
I did not calculate it out on this. I believe it's 75% by the code, but this is purely concept at this point. It is fairly common to use non-masonry materials, cement, fiberboard, et cetera, that the board has pretty often granted that exception when the materials do come back calculated out later on.
So, but the original calculation, or at least the ordinance suggests that it should be at least 75%
I believe
masonry
that
is what you're saying.
I believe
So-
that's the number.
So if they have more than 25% EFS or other materials, then we need to approve that specifically.
When it returns is an exception that would be the purview of the board and not the commission, the planning commission.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Mr. President, village trustees, we appreciate the opportunity to present this evening and are excited to share our redevelopment plans at 151 East Town Line Road for Raising Cane's, a best-in-class quick-serve restaurant. My name is Joe Goodman with Terrico Real Estate. Terrico was founded almost 40 years ago by Scott Gendel. He apologizes for not being here this evening. He's in New York right now celebrating the birth of his first grandson. Terrico, who has developed over 120 commercial projects, began building retail properties in Vernon Hills in the late 1980s. Our projects include the retail strip center at 445 Town Line Road, which we still manage today, and the former Sport Mart Sports Authority building, now Bears Fit, which is contiguous to 151 East Town Line Road. As you can see from the aerial, our property is positioned as an outlot to Bears Fit. There's an existing easement agreement that permits access to our property through their lot. We have shared our redevelopment plans with both Bears Fit and their landlord and have already received their approval to proceed with the Raising Cane's. We also have the zoning and access consistent with the neighboring Portillo's, Wendy's, and Panda Express, all zoned core retail and have drive-throughs just like this project. Now, I would like to introduce the members of our team here tonight. First, Dan Wander, one of the principals at Terrico. Sarah Holmes with HD Group, who is Raising Cane's project manager. Michael Worthman with KLOA, our traffic consultant, and Tom Savransky with Kimley Horn, the civil engineer. Thank you, and we look forward to your feedback and working with the village to bring this high-quality project to your community. Now I will turn the mic over to Sarah Holmes, who will talk about Raising Cane's and their design for the site.
Thank you all, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Sarah Holmes. I'm with HD Group. I am the Property Development Manager for Raising Cane's. I just wanted to kind of introduce you all to Raising Cane's since there's not one currently here in Vernon Hills, but there are quite a few in the surrounding areas, and so I hope you will become more familiar with our concept tonight. Raising Cane's was founded in 1996 by Todd Graves. His first location was in Baton Rouge, and as a college student, he really just had a passion for serving chicken fingers. That's what he wanted to do. That's what he wrote his business plan on, and he was told he was never going to succeed. So he worked really hard to gain the capital it needed to open his first restaurant, and he put in his own hard work to remodel his first restaurant. Each Raising Cane's is very unique. We like to come to the community and be integrated with the community. So you will find very intricate site designs that accommodate the community, the drive-through traffic, the developments we go into. We want to make sure that we're designing with you in mind. Our marketing team does due diligence to find out what local sports teams are here, what high schools or charities or ways that we can reach out and help the community and really bond and be one with the community we come into. Raising Cane's does have a very focused menu. So unlike a lot of other quick serve restaurants where there may be 20, 30 options, you have really one option. You pull onto Raising Cane's and you are there to order chicken fingers. It's just how many and what do you want to drink with it. So all of the menu items are combos. You can have 3, 4, or 5 tenders, or you can get a kid's meal. And then it comes with fries, coleslaw, and Texas toast, and cane sauce. So the variables are very, very limited. This allows Raising Cane's to be one of the most accurate in the industry as far as getting orders right and having the quickest turnaround time. We are consistently at the top of every industry's, the fast food industry's records with a 2-minute and 28-second turnaround time from the time you enter the site to the time you exit. So the efficiency is really one of the highest priorities. We want customers to come onto the site and then feel like they have been able to order and exit the site very quickly with the correct order and without hesitation. Raising Cane's offers high quality, fresh food, which is delivered daily. We use a lot of local sources as well as distributors that can deliver food quickly to the site every single day or every other day. The hours of operation are typically Sunday through Thursday from 9:30 a.m. till 1:30 a.m. and Friday and Saturday until 3:30 a.m. I know that can sound a little bit late for some of you all. However, Raising Cane's does make it a priority to be open and support late night workers, fire, police, hospital workers. They need food and we would like to be there to serve them when they need us. Raising Cane's does typically employ an average of 12 crew members per shift with 55 to 75 full and part-time employees. Raising Cane's does excel as far as one of the higher paying fast food jobs. We like to be above the bar, not just be the minimum wage. We do have a very successful tactic when it comes to the operations. So a lot of people are integrating in mobile apps. We have those. We also have, if the queuing lines exceed past the ordering point, we will start having crew members go out to take mobile tablet orders ahead to accelerate the pace of when you arrive on site to when you get your food. So looking at the site plan specifically, Raising Cane's is kind of in this northwest corner of the property. We are proposing a building that's roughly 2,800 square feet. We do have a double drive-through lane with a 26-car stack. We have 34 parking spaces that are dedicated for Raising Cane's. This particular site layout was arranged in a manner so that there was on-site circulation and also capacity to contain any additional cars that may be outside the queuing. So we would like to say that, you know, with the roundabout design, that if you could not enter the drive-through, that they could be funneled up and around and back through Raising Cane's property. So the stack should not interfere with Bears Fit.
Go back to that a second. With the, how exactly is the?
Oops.
I see where you make the order and everything like that. How are you handling payment and stuff?
The payment?
Yeah.
It's cash card. You can also use mobile app.
But what I'm wondering is how the outside line.
They're in the hatched area during peak hours. A crew member would be able to walk out of the door and hand people their food and do the payment system through the mobile tablet.
Okay, because the outside line would not have access to anything along the building like your standard
Correct.
drive-through.
Yeah, so the outside lane is not generally used unless it's a peak hour, which is really only during lunch and dinner times. So while Bears Fit may have a peak during morning workout hours or after dinner hours, ours are kind of more confined to lunch and dinner.
And you are both cash and card?
Yes.
Okay.
Looking at the elevations, Raising Cane's has a fairly prototypical building. We have close to 800 restaurants across the nation. So Raising Cane's likes to look at their materials and their use of durable materials. You're going to find two different types of brick here, along with wood. That's the wood siding, the Nichiha. You do have an uplit metal roof screen along certain portions of the building. And you also have structural canopies for employee coverage. I'll move over to traffic.
Good evening. My name's Michael Worthman. I'm a principal with the firm of Koenig, Lindgren, O'Hara, Bona Inc., KLOA. We're a traffic and parking engineering firm out of Rosemont, Illinois, and we were retained to conduct a traffic and parking study for the subject site. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the results of the study, and we'll be here for any questions that you have. I am going to go back a couple slides if I do this right. Get to the site plan. As you can see from the site plan, direct access to the Raising Cane's will be provided via that northern east-west circulation road at the north end of the parking lot. All access to the site, as well as the Bears Fit, is from the access drive on the south side of the site on the west side of Lakeview Parkway. Directional signage will be provided to have that traffic come in and travel up that first north-south aisle to keep the traffic out from traveling in front of the Bears Fit facility. So we'll come in, make that immediate right, go north, and then travel west to the parking spaces or the drive-through facility. Likewise, when exiting, there'll be appropriate signage to bring the traffic back out and around to the Lakeview Parkway. This setup is similar to two other shopping centers within this intersection. The Patillo's, similar to this, is up in the corner of the Target Center that you have to the east of here, where you have to drive through the Target Center to get there. Much of the traffic has to travel in front of that Target Center. Likewise, kitty corner to us, where the Binney Shopping Center is, there's a Wendy's drive-through and a
Panda Express.
And
Panda, thank you. I was going to say Panera. I go to Panera too much. Same thing. You got to come in from the front of the center to go down into the shopping center. So what we have here is pretty typical of what you have there. We will direct that traffic to avoid the front of the Bears Fit as much as possible. The single access drive on Lakeview Parkway is more than sufficient to accommodate the additional traffic that will be generated by the Raising Cane's. That single access drive is more than sufficient. We looked at several of the intersections along Lakeview Parkway, and all of those intersections have sufficient reserve capacity to accommodate the additional traffic. As you've heard, the facility will provide 34 parking spaces, which meets the village code, and more importantly, surveys conducted by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. So we're meeting the parking demands of the proposed facility. From a traffic impact, the volume of traffic generated by the Raising Cane's will be reduced for several reasons. Fast food restaurants generate a significant volume of pass-by traffic That's traffic that's already on the roadway system, driving home, that will stop in and pick up their dinner and continue the way home. The other important fact is there's an existing restaurant there that's generating traffic. So the traffic generated by us will not be all new traffic because we'll be replacing that traffic that's generated by the existing restaurant. I will be here for any questions that you have, and thank you for the time.
Oh, I got a question. So I appreciate your comparisons. You're right about Wendy's and Panda,
Yeah.
smaller area, but do you really think Raising Cane's is comparable to those two? To me, you're going to do 10 times the volume. Am I correct? Kids? There you go. I got kids right here. So you're right, but the analogy's no good to me because Wendy's and Panda, they're not even close to you guys in volume and what's going to be going through there. The Portillos, they got a lot more real estate to work with that target, but as long as Andrew Jennings and his department's good with the traffic flow, this absolutely, believe me, we've been waiting for this for a long time.
Well, tying in with what you said about the traffic, I had a question.
Yeah.
The exit
The other
out on,
twos aren't good analogies at all.
yeah, the exit out onto Lakeview, is that going to be, I'm trying to remember if it now has a currently dedicated left-right and in and a left-right going out.
It has let me confirm with you.
Because my concern.
No, it
again,
has a left turn lane in, that's the most definite. And outbound, give me one more second. It has a single outbound lane, it does not have a separate left and a separate right.
Yeah, because my concern is going to be, I appreciate your analogies, but all the other places have a traffic light to come out.
They have a light, yeah.
Every other place you mentioned, you can go to a traffic light to get out, not here.
Correct.
And is there, as part of this, is there a possibility of maybe even widening that so that you do have the ability to have an inbound lane and a dedicated left, dedicated right outbound lane?
That's something we can look at.
Because what my concern is that it could stack up very easily with people trying to make a left onto Lakeview Parkway.
We can take a look at that. Our capacity analysis shows that it will work at a reasonable level of service and that traffic will get out. The
And the
advantage
current
that,
restaurant doesn't even, again, it's
No,
it's a sit-down restaurant. It doesn't have a drive-through.
I totally agree with you, but we did look at what the existing traffic was and then added the traffic that will be generated, and it still showed that it will work. You do have a signal on just north and south of you that stops the traffic, that provides gaps in Lakeview to get that traffic out. Widening that is something we can look at if that's the direction that, the board gives us. That's not a big issue. I do think they're apparable comparisons.
Talking about the brands, they're not even.
No, but with,
Wendy's, it's been there, Panda Express. You guys do way more business. Okay, that's just the reality of it. all.
Even on your, what's on the screen showing here, you've got 20-something cars here. There's never more than 3 cars in front of Wendy's at a time.
totally understand. I'm just saying it's the same type of design, type of concept. You could argue
But-
that the Target generates a whole lot more traffic than the
Sure.
Bears
You got a
Fit
lot of real
or the
estate to
other.
work with there, though. You got a ton of real estate. You don't even make that. Please don't, because there's way more land to work with there.
And not only that, the way you have the traffic flowing, everyone's coming up and down the east side with cars that are parked going to Bears Fit, and then they're making a quick turn to get to the exit right there. There's no way everyone's going to go down that way, even though you have signs. People are going to go along the west end of the building.
We don't disagree. What
Yeah.
we're trying to do is direct as much traffic as we can to travel on this section, so it doesn't go in front of the.
You say try to direct them. With what?
With signage.
Arrows
and-
on the ground.
And signage, like you
Yeah.
do in any shopping center.
Okay, no one's going to pay attention to that. People flow like water. Like the quickest, easiest way to go is how they go. They're not gonna go-
17-year-old kids are the ones in this line.
Exactly.
16-year-old kids, they don't care about signs.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's
They
an
wanna
actual
get that
ordinance, which there won't
Raising
be.
Cane's.
So everyone's going to be right in front of Bears Fit, and everyone's going to be right along. I'm not happy with this spot. I'll just put it right there.
We can respectfully disagree. I think the route that we're showing is the quicker route, particularly if pedestrians are crossing.
It's the quicker route, but as people go along that eastern thing and they're trying to make a left turn, if there's 3 cars, it doesn't take that long for 3 cars to back up there. I went into the spot today, and it took me a moment to turn left as all the cars were coming down from 60 going south. I was trying to go out left, so I had to wait a little bit, and I was just by myself. So if you imagine 10 more cars like that, they're going to be lined up.
Yeah,
So where are they going to be lined up? They're going to be lined up either in Bearsford, or they're going to be lined up along the east side, blocking all those cars there. And then it seems like it's going to be,
Yeah,
it's going to be a
the queuing
hazard.
coming southbound to eastbound is rather difficult,
Yeah.
because there's very little queuing from the end of that southbound traffic flow to Lakeview. It can't be more than,
We could
80
stack
feet.
several vehicles there. If we have to provide
Yeah.
signage to not block the intersection, we can do that. We're more than happy to work with staff. You know, I'm not disagreeing that people will find different ways. What we're trying to say is, we're going to try to direct them to the most appropriate way. What I'm trying to say is why the type of uses are not the same. The type of setup, the concept is similar to many of your shopping centers. Even the Home Depot, if you come off of Illinois 60, you got a Chick-fil-A there, you can go right through the parking lot. So,
and
the under-
traffic light to get out.
yeah,
That's the big difference, is there's a traffic light right
but
there,
that
and there's not.
shopping center generates a whole lot more traffic than a Bears Fit and a Raising Cane's.
Sure.
Yeah. And once again, our peak period, and correct me if I'm wrong, is during the lunch period, when the traffic volumes are lower on the roadway system, when the Bears Fit is not as busy as it is in the evening. We do have evening traffic, but it's not as much as the midday. And we're going to get some cross-traffic. People that go to the Bears Fit will go to Raising Cane's. That will help reduce some of the traffic that's generated by the Raising Cane's.
What are your site requirements when you're looking for locations?
Raising Cane's typically goes after parcels that are at least over 3/4 of an acre that are conducive to having a drive-through, since most of our business is through the drive-through.
And as far as visibility from main roads versus outlots versus like where they're
They-
set back a little bit, like say how, we'll use Chick-fil-A as an example, you brought it up, like how they're an outlet, but they're set back farther off a main road, different ingress, egress. What's your opinions on that?
They go after potential markets that have the capacity to have Chick-fil-A, or not have just Chick-fil-A there, but have Raising Cane's there.
So I'm just curious, have you looked, I think there's some opportunity or outlots on the east of Milwaukee, south of 60, in that general area. Have you looked into those areas? Is this just?
I can't speak for real estate, since
Okay.
that's not my department.
Because I don't know if you got distance from Chick-fil-A's you like to maintain. You're also tearing down a building here too, right? So you're absorbing those costs, or are you repurposing
No, we
Jameson?
would be demoing the existing building and rebuilding.
Quite a big of investment, and I would think you would want a very accessible property when you're doing that versus just building up from the ground up, is my assumption. So when you look at these, one of the things I do very well is operations of this stuff, okay? So it's usable, it's doable, it's not ideal. So I know what your answer is going to be, but we know that you'll generate customers. We know you're going to generate long lines, big demand. It's just, this market can absorb it, Raising Cane's. If you look at the map, obviously you got a couple up north, you got more down south. We're pretty much right in the middle of no Raising Cane's. People are driving, 30 minutes to get to Raising Cane's? Where do you guys go? Morton Grove?
Gurney.
Gurney. So you're gonna, but my But what we have a problem with, well, at least I have a problem, it sounds like everybody else does, is the safety of our residents and also your customers. That's a tight radius turn there. That's like a five, that, I don't know if that's a less than 10 foot. They're gonna come in and you got cars pulling out, you know, it's not the ideal traffic flow. There's not many options. You likely will never get an ingress off of 60 going with the state, is my guess. So I don't know what the options are to make this a safer pass through. I also have a problem with where the ADA parking is, because that's going to be potentially part of your stack lane on busy days. You have the, you know, I'm a big fan of the side-by-side drive-through, you know, the double. I see you have I thought you were merging. Will you be doing days like, here you have, are you gonna have food runners? Is that the concept?
Yes, to some extent. During off-peak hours, the second lane
Sure.
is not
Can
used.
but you can use that second lane, but you'll merge them into one, correct? Likely?
We could if
I-
a second lane is needed.
You could do a second order lane, but for payment and food, you can just merge it down, because you have it right there on your plans, the merge
Yeah.
lane after the order point, right? That's the
Correct.
order point right there? Is that a canopy also over the order point? Is that
Correct.
what we're looking, okay. So, and what are those 2 40-foot? Is that for deliveries on the left there?
The 240-foot, yeah, we would, well, we
What is-
want site circulation, so as far as the site, it can circulate an F-250. So there shouldn't be any tight radius as far as what we can
You're not
control.
bringing in semis?
We
for-
would, but
or would?
that is also already in this plan, so that's already accounted for in our plan, and our civil engineer could speak to that.
That's fine. So are those, is that where your semis are for delivery on the left there, on the west side?
Yes.
Where's your
and
garbage?
The diagonal, I think that you're talking about, the 40-foot, those are the trash enclosures. And so we showed that clearance to make sure that the trash trucks.
So you have 2 trash enclosures, is that correct, at the end of those 40-foot? But where are you accepting deliveries? Also there too?
Yes, that's where we've got it planned out right now. The truck would be staged on that left western drive aisle, and then the delivery driver would either utilize the striped area between the trash enclosures if it is, they already strive for it.
So they'll probably run parallel to the curb to drop for deliveries then, right? So you have more unloading space, so that would be closed, and then they'll walk in. So these are tight radiuses. I mean, you have 10 foots up here on the top, you know, cars are turning in. Like if to turn into the inner lane, is it a median between the lanes, or is it just striped?
No, it's just striped.
It's just striped, okay, because that's a really tight turn. The ADA parking right there seems very close to a lot of activity. So we all know who needs ADA. You know, sometimes if it's, you know, somebody a little older, a little slower, they're going to be pulling out. That could be a risk. Andrew, is that an issue where it's located?
We haven't really gone deep into.
I mean, I would rather see it to the right. If you're going to keep it on that part near the building where it should be, I'd move them over to the right where the 7 is, just to kind of give them a little more freedom to move in and out of there. That's all P&Z stuff. I know this is only consent, but you have shaded areas here. Those mountable medians are not in the drive-through by the, just past the order point, in between the 2 lanes.
Those are just pavement.
Is that just pavement striping?
Because
Okay.
that's where crew members will be walking.
Yeah, I mean, the ingress egress is really rough. I mean, look, here's what happens in reality. So as you pull out, you said what, you're a little over 2 minutes for service time?
Yes.
Right? So what kind of transaction counts do you do during lunch? Like how many cars, would you say? Any idea?
No, because it depends on the location.
Okay,
Of course,
throw an average. I mean, you know what your volume, I know you're projecting your volume here and your sales just because, you know, for the cost, but like, are you doing 100 cars an hour at lunch?
I couldn't tell you, I'm sorry.
What's your maximum store?
Well, actually, here's a better question. What's your capacity
Yeah.
for an hour
Okay. your
that you can handle? Would you say? Like how many, with this configuration, double lane, food runners, you probably have what your capacity is, right? Concept, because,
Yeah, I mean, well, theoretically, I mean, if you sit there and say that you've got 26 cars and then you take the fact that we're running a little over 2 minutes, I mean,
Yeah.
you can then go through and say, okay, well, you know, within 30 minutes, we can go through, you know,
Yeah, I
quite
mean,
a few cars. I
if,
mean,
if,
like,
if you're
there's,
using 2 minutes as a number, I could tell you right now, and you have 2 lanes like this, you're probably over 140 cars, 150 cars.
yes, but
Possible.
I would,
Capacity, that doesn't mean it's reality.
I would highly, highly object to the fact that we would say that that's an average, because of course, we're not going to, when you
Right.
do an initial grand opening, sure, you're going to
No,
see
it'll
enough
normalize. It'll
flips.
normalize in 6 weeks.
But as you mentioned, we do have quite a few other surrounding Raising Cane's, and hopefully the offset of having another Raising Cane's actually decreases the overall.
I just want you to
capacity.
be understand. I want you to be successful. I want you to pack that place, and I want you to, and be efficient and be fast, So when we talk about capacity, it's not that it's what you can potentially handle, and then you factor that in. So as these cars leave every 2 minutes, David, let's say you have every 2 minutes, you got 2 cars leaving at a time. So the egress won't be much of an issue, in my opinion. Like I said, it's not the best site. It's not, in my opinion, but you're not running 26 cars out at once. You're not running 26 cars in at once. The only concern that I have is the ingress off of Lakeview at the light change, coming from both directions, and then making that really tight turn in there. And then the egress that's where you could potentially run into issues. As Tom said, is going to be hard to turn left
Very
out of
short
there.
stack.
It's a short stack. It's going to be hard to turn left out of there. So there you're going to get tight during certain times of day. That's my only.
Well, that's what I,
Did you say that?
that's what I was referring to. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes you can't pull right out.
You might
and
catch it,
so-
great. You might not.
But if you
then
don't,
can
and then the next car's coming, and then the next car's coming.
So
and
that's
then
the whole
there's gonna
thing. So
be-
if every few minutes you got a
And
car
then-
backing up there, the question is,
Have you-
Andrew, I'm sorry, I can't see our community director over there. Thank you. Traffic study, I think, would be needed for this, like a third party that we should probably take a look at and put in place. Because you said you were going to reserve your comments till the end here, right? So-
Yeah, that is our intention, actually. We've received a full traffic study from the project team. During technical review, we have a development escrow that allows us to go out for a third-party review. So we would have somebody, like a peer review of the work.
Any concerns on the site survey?
The concerns that we had are somewhat similar to what the committee has expressed. Having the pinch point right near near Lakeview, just making sure that there's adequate capacity to get out. So the queue of exiting vehicles was our biggest concern. Not so much the total number
Right.
of trips generated, but the ability to get out at each light.
What about, I mean, I don't know who the property owners are, but what about mitigating that, finding a way to widen that? Yeah, I think one of you guys mentioned a potential widening the ingress to basically bring in, a right turn lane that, just a little bit more so if you're coming in from the north, you're traveling south, you right turn, and you'll have almost like 3 lanes, one with a center pass through. Is that something that could be considered, at the loss of a few parking spots down in that corner?
So, a couple things. One is that we certainly want to.
Could you come over to a mic?
Yeah, I'm
please?
sorry.
Yeah, no.
My name is Dan Wander. I work with Joe at Terrico. We'd certainly be willing to consider. We want to make sure, obviously, that it's going to work in terms of in terms of particularly people exiting out and making sure we have enough stacking. We're confident with our traffic study that it's going to work. We certainly welcome any additional comments from any kind of a peer review in terms of our own ability to be able to do that. The one caveat that we have to this is that we would do it. We don't own the other property. We would have to get the other owner to cooperate with us. It's not clear that we can otherwise be able to do that. To the extent that we can, that it becomes necessary.
But we could
based
help
on-
you with that, I'm sure, help
You know,
facilitate
you
those
know.
meetings, so, yeah.
Yeah,
that's not-
so to the extent that the board and other people want to be able to support that, obviously that goes a long way, because we'd like to see Raising Cane's here. In terms of going through this process, this is the beginning of the process for us in terms of doing this. It's a lot of this is to get a lot of these issues fleshed out tonight, be able to work with staff, be able to work with this in a more technical basis, flesh through all these different questions, and really be able to meet the community's concerns. Because like you said, Trustee Shek,
Shank.
Shank, excuse me.
No worries.
I apologize. You know, we want to be able to make this successful, and they've identified the site. Raising Cane's people here are tremendous partners for us, and we have every confidence that we'll be able to make this work from a traffic standpoint, which I think is your primary issue in terms of supporting this development.
And let me make perfectly clear, and I believe I speak for the whole board, that all of the concerns you're hearing are site-related, nothing to do with the business. This business has been on our wish list for a while, correct, Trustee Takaoka? Yeah.
Look, here's the bottom line as far as I'm concerned. You make Andrew Jennings and his department happy, I'm good. I don't do what you do. I don't claim to. He's got operational experience. I'm not a subject matter expert in your stuff. I know Andrew will take care of it. That's why he does what he does. So if he's good to go, I'm good to go, and I don't think anyone else would have an issue.
Recognize we have been burned before at some of the locations. Such as-
Really? Like
Well,
where?
Well, like example in the Starbucks on Milwaukee.
Was Andrew Jennings in
No.
charge of that?
I'm not saying him.
Okay,
I'm
so
saying-
that doesn't
I'm
matter
saying
because
us
Andrew
as-
Jennings, as far as
I'm saying us as a community, we've approved things that sound great, but then after the fact, people say, I can't pull in, I can't pull out. It's terrible. And Melody Farms is fantastic, but sometimes people complain about that. I don't want to get blowback after the fact that.
10 people? I mean, come on.
No, I'm serious. Like people, have you looked at the former Jason's Deli site off of Milwaukee?
Yeah, never
just
went
east
there.
of
The
Ever-
food was horrible.
No, I'm looking at the
Them.
site. I'm looking at the site, and I loved it.
And
by
it's
the way.
closer to the high school.
So yeah, I mean the Jason's Deli site is a building that you would have easier access, egress, and also it's right by the high school, so you will have an automatic.
That was a bad decision, and they lost a lot of money. If these guys I didn't realize they're going to demo that whole building, go through this kind of expense to put a Raising Cane's here.
Yeah.
As long as Andrew Jennings and his department's good with it, then I don't see any issues. Do you guys? I mean,
Well, I have serious concerns about the stacking going in and out there.
People vote with their feet in their wallets. So if they're not happy with the ingress and egress and they stop going there, that's on them.
No, but what about Bears Fit? I mean, will people at Bears Fit not want to go there because, well, they talk to them, but.
Let me, Chief wanted to say something. Chief Crease?
I just thought I would tell a story that it speaks to this. Just before the meeting, as a roll call, presenting a certificate, had about 10 officers there and prepped them on what's on the agenda tonight. And I mentioned Raising Cane's, and everyone's like, yeah, they're ready, right? And then I mentioned a site. And these are police officers that pass this location every day 20 times. They all had the same concerns. And when, I specifically want to point out that the difference between this shopping center and the others, and I'm not an engineer, I'm not going to pretend to be one, but the Wendy's, the Portillo's, multiple access sites to those shopping centers, at least one traffic signal. And I just wanted to share that story because we frequent Bears Fit, we frequent Jameson's, we're in and out of this a lot, and I think what you're saying is spot on about Director Jennings having an independent study, because I can't pretend to be an expert, but when I asked 10 officers their gut reaction, I figured I'd pass it on.
So we have a couple high school students that will probably be your primary customers during the lunches. When you guys look at this, and you guys can speak, where would you enter? Would you go to the next row and then go down, or would you go where the arrows is just because you're pulling in, and by the time you pull in, you'd skip? Do you guys look at this as? Well, when you enter here, this is where Bears Fit is, just to the bottom of the screen. So when you enter, would you make that first turn to go down the aisle, or would you guys continue and kind of finagle around there? Which way?
So you enter Bears Fit, go all the way down, take a right turn right in.
So the west side, the far left side up there? And then come back around like that?
You're almost coming from the bottom, because that road in front of the high school, if you were to go to a Target parallel,
Yeah.
then you take a left, go to Bears Fit at that light, but
he made a point here, the gentleman to your left, I don't know your name, I apologize. Warren. So do you anticipate people going like straight across? And I mean, that's not a bad deal there. So it's kind of like a second ingress, right?
Well, and that was one of my questions was, has this been discussed with Barefoot as to whether or not to be able to use that? Because it has a significantly longer queuing space and a much more, traffic flows best when it doesn't have to turn tight and turn often. And problem here is you're coming in, you're turning, you know, 3 or 4 times before you ever get to the drive-through. Even as,
During lunchtime.
that's what I'm wondering.
Because I go lifetime, I'm early in the morning, it's more crowded at 6 a.m. than it is at 10.
That would help an awful lot of the flow problems if that bottom row was the main
You're
flow.
saying, yeah, just use the main
Look,
drive right in front of Bears Fit as the main access instead of trying to make that right turn.
our goal from these positions, you know, I see you guys, you know, chatting over here.
Even this row here, yeah.
You have to understand, our goal is to take care of our community first, give them the best businesses possible. We are very pro-business in this town. We want you guys to be successful. So I would fear, and this isn't even planning and zoning. This is just going to prepare you for planning and zoning. My guess is this will probably go through consent. P&Zs will take a look at this, and they will be hard on this. So we're just kind of like, not normal consents aren't this deep, I know, right? That's what P&Z is for, and we have a very good P&Z board. So you're just going to have to be ready. Now, they'll rule, and then we'll have to decide what we want to do. I don't know what they're going to do. So just be prepared, because we want Raising Cane's. There's no, but is this the best site? I mean, I don't know what, did you guys do your due diligence on different sites? We're real estate, but there's nobody here from real estate?
Real estate is comprised of a large group, and I can tell you with utmost certainty, they do their due diligence. I personally know the real estate manager for this one and the broker team, and they absolutely go after the sites that are the most advantageous for not only Cane's, but for the size and the qualifications to have a Raising Cane's.
Because
So,
we have another business, Bears Fit, that are going to have, that I'm sure will take up issue potentially with this, with all the pass-through. Are you franchised or are you,
no, it's privately owned.
it's a privately owned company?
Yes.
Okay.
There are a handful of franchise outside the U.S. Todd Graves owns 98% of it.
You're like in and out.
No.
No, they're privately owned,
They're all
family,
privately
it's family owned.
So the ones that are franchised are outside the U.S.
They're outside the US.
I've
You
been
know,
recruiting in and out every time they won't come.
They're not coming this far east.
Too
better,
cold.
get a better
Yeah.
chance to get an Apple store.
They're in Texas.
Okay,
I-
Mayor, anything you want to?
Yeah, I got a location for him. Where Dom's Food was gonna go.
Oh, the outlet.
Yeah.
Where the Dom's Food Market would have
There's
been?
a,
That's,
hey, there you go. You don't have any of these issues here. You're in a big shopping center parking lot.
you know the
It's a
location he's
no-brainer.
talking about? It's the other side of Route 60. It was an outlet where the sleep number is just west of the sleep number, right on Route 60.
Yeah, and I do appreciate the suggestions. I can't make any of those decisions. Yeah, I can't make any of those calls. That's out of.
We're not expecting you to make
Yeah.
a decision right now on
So,
the spot.
I mean,
Want you to
there's-
talk
there's-
to the guy who makes the.
There's a lot
You
of
can get the
factors
finder's
in
fee,
it,
'cause that's gonna
especially
be,
pricing.
it was going to be a high-end grocery store prepared, and was going in a great location out on the outlet of a mall, right on 60, where you're already on 60. Great ingress, egress, great visibility.
Sam, stick around.
But I don't know if you heard in the news, Foxtrot and Dom's Market filed for bankruptcy like 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
So I don't know how the mall feels about it,
Yeah,
but
sure, if that's what they're,
that's
for,
the,
'cause they probably would.
that's what the mall that's up to, right?
would agree to that,
Centennial.
I'm
Sam was here earlier, but at the end of the day, if this is your location and you vetted it, go through P&Z.
well, let's call a spade here. And Scott owns this whole lot, Glendale, right?
He just owns the 151. He does not own the lot that Bears Fit sits on.
Okay. So there's obviously you have a vested interest, Scott does, in having Raising Cane go on your lot.
Very much so.
Correct?
Yes.
Correct?
Okay. So any suggestion we make of another location won't be on your short list.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, we have two
Yes.
parties that we're dealing with here. It's not just.
So what's the story with Jameson's? Are they closing shop? Are they lease up? What do we know?
I could tell you that the owner has 14 other restaurants, and he's looking to downsize his number of restaurants that he has. And plus, after COVID, his sales never recovered from where they were pre-COVID.
And so what is the time frame? Whether you build or not, do you have a time frame? When is the lease, when's the lease up?
I believe it's later this year.
So we also have to understand that another potentially empty building without just an empty building, they're coming in here to,
Yeah, but it is a beautiful building that was just built a few years ago. It's a really nice space.
but if the doors aren't open, it's not going to be pretty for about it may be pretty for about 6 weeks, but it's like.
Maybe.
So is
Well,
the
it's
board's
empty, though.
pleasure to have this move forward and see if some of these concerns can be worked out by technical review and P
I
and Z
consent to move forward.
and our own traffic study?
We're suggesting things because we live in this village, so, we are trying to help you, and you are also helping us with business. But, that's why we are making these suggestions to you. So, just leave it at that, so we're not on,
Thank you.
So,
I guarantee you, yes, it's a favorable, market. We want you to come here.
They'll have to watch the video because I don't see them taking notes.
I'll say at first blush, I'm not in favor of this, but, so tread carefully, I guess, in terms of what you do and what,
Yeah, I need to see the traffic stuff worked out.
Well, can I make a suggestion too?
Sure.
Yes, Mayor.
You want to go to a Field Chili site? There's a site that's available.
Yeah,
what was that?
Chili's.
Chili's. Down on, Route 60.
Got a road in the back,
Should I-
come through, you have a traffic light, or
I don't
You know,
The traffic flow over there, though, in my opinion, is,
That would be another place to look at, yeah.
Look, it's not
they
our
don't have the
business.
traffic
Let them
flow.
go.
They got to figure it out.
Yes.
Let them go
Let
through
the
the
process go
process,
forward.
okay? I
We'll
mean,
see
we,
what
at this point, we're beating a dead horse. Let them go through the process, let them get the data. P and Z's got to assess this, and Andrew Jennings and his department, that's what they do.
Yep.
And I'm going with whatever they recommend, so that's my stance on it, because that's their job.
How long does it take once shovel's in the ground? I mean, you got demo and building, so.
Correct. So depending on if we can get a demo permit earlier rather than later, and also weather.
Yeah.
We like to keep it around 200 days, give or take.
okay, in my opinion, there's a real traffic issue here. And, if that's not worked out, I'm not for it.
Okay, so we'll let you go ahead and see if you can work this out with,
Can I, I drove to the spot this morning. Is there enough room to build a road west of Bearsfit for an egress there? I know there's the CV ditch close by. I don't know how much room they need, though.
To Town Line Road?
No, to Phillip.
We can take a look. I don't know. I don't want to just wing it with a guess. That's something we can look at but I don't know.
And the backside of that building, you're right, out of the,
Yeah, because
Lifetime Fitness,
What's that?
Bears Fitness
not going to give
behind
them
it.
access to Town Line Road.
Right, right. Definitely no access to town line. It's just I just
Phillips
don't,
is right behind, Bears Fitness.
right. So if they could tear out those trees, not that I like to tear trees out, but if they could put a road in there. I don't think there's enough room, but,
Just a quick thought on that. There is a creek and floodplain and a
Yeah.
100-foot storm water easement, and so I think it would be a,
okay. Yeah, I figured there was an
Massive
easement. I
undertaking.
just wasn't sure how much of an easement there was. So, yeah,
yeah,
there's,
that whole
Creek's
space
awful
is
tight.
floodplain.
Yeah,
that's
the
all
creek's awful
floodplain.
tight to the
Okay.
site.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay,
But it makes
that was the
makes the meat tender.
last item on the agenda. Are we, no closed session tonight? Okay. All right, then we don't have anything else, correct? All right, then, is there a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you and good night.
Good night, Mayor.
Good night, Mayor.
Good night.
You're
No.
not looking at the same picture, though. That's the-
I am, no, guys, I get what you're